Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
Welcome back, Joshua.
Thank you very much. Sorry I've been away so long. I've recently picked up employment.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
No, that's very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about the two Dark Crusaders, Cape Crusaders, Dark Knights, Moon Knight, first up, the new Disney Plus series, and of course, The Batman starring Robert Pattinson. Finally getting around to seeing it because I finally saw it.
Hey, about time.
Yeah. So, Moon Knight is a 6-part Disney Plus series starring Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke. It's based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's not a part of it exactly. Like, you don't have to have watched 20 previous films to see this one, which is refreshing.
Finally.
That they can just have a sort of a one-off program that you can just sit down and enjoy for the sake of it without having to think about how it fits in with everything else.
Well, it kind of does make you think about the rest of the universe as a whole now, because they're introducing the Egyptian gods.
Yes, which could have wider-reaching implications.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not getting dragged down in what that could mean for Thor or for the Guardians.
No, not yet.
Yet. I hope it doesn't get too bogged down in it by the end and just sort of presents a nice little story which happens because, you know, they sort of treat this universe like everyone knows everyone, but it's a universe and
Exactly.
it's vast and wide. But yes, Oscar Isaac stars as the English Stephen Grant, a mild-mannered museum attendant who seems to have some issues with his sleep.
Yes.
Well, he wakes up one morning in the middle of a field in some nondescript European country with
German. He's somewhere in Germany.
Yes, it's very hills are alive, aren't they? With the sound of music and gunfire. As he finds himself being chased by a bunch of gun-wielding thugs.
Cultists.
Under the command of Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, who is a man who's sort of Egyptian-aligned. He can judge people and seemingly kill people with a touch.
Well, he's delves into the avatars, the chosen people, almost like a high priest sort of, the voices of certain gods, and the Egyptian gods, unlike the Norse gods for Marvel, seem to choose their avatars as their divine being on Earth.
Yes, it becomes very Egyptian, this series.
Yes.
I guess a lot of people might be familiar with the character of Moon Knight from the comics, if they are. He's kind of like, not to say he's a white Batman, but he kind of fits into that niche, and he's kind of got a few quirks about him, like
a lot of different quirks.
He's got a dissociative identity disorder, so he's got multiple personalities within his head, and all those personalities play into different aspects of his crime-fighting crusade.
Yes, well, at least in the comics, he has multiple different alters. Here, there's just the 3.
Yes, the third is being teased pretty heavily.
Very, very heavily.
It's got shades of Legion, this show, the X-Men series that came out a few years ago with Dan Stevens. It's got shades of The Mummy.
Yes.
I mean...
there was a literal mummy in the last one.
Yeah. It's the actress in it, whose name has escaped me, but she had a very, like, Rachel Weisz vibes, especially with the hair from the Mummy films.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a show that takes its time.
It does. And it really does play with what's real and what isn't fast and loose. Yeah,
there's quite a few moments where the character and the audience is sort of left in the dark as to what's going on, especially through that first episode. It literally throws him into the middle of a fight scene.
Yes.
As we only see the aftermath, and I guess it cuts back on special effects.
It does.
Since they've kind of got a giant skull-faced bird god played by F. Murray Abraham walking around.
Khonshu.
Yes. Based upon the real Egyptian deity, but himself based upon the comic version of that deity.
Yes, one of the more later iterations. The early iterations of Khonshu were just him as a statue.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which is a nice little neat reference with what happens in episode 3.
Yeah, right. Well, it is interesting with this series because I guess people went in expecting something kind of like, you know, the white Batman in a way.
Oh, well, I mean, they got the white Batman.
Yeah. But
it's just a lot more violent, and more insane.
And there's a lot of variety in it as well. Like,
Yes.
you kind of look at the end of episode 4, which is really bizarre and out there,
Oh, absolutely.
where the comparisons to Legion come in, and you compare it to episode 1, which I said sound of music fight scene kind of thing.
Yeah, it felt very, despite the absurdity of it, probably felt the most grounded of the episodes. As to say, everything else.
You mean the one with the mummy in it felt the most grounded?
No. I mean, episode 1 felt the most grounded. No,
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, this is the same show, isn't it?
yeah, the first half of episode 4 were definitely huge archaeology, big vibes, loved it. Mm-hmm. Even they've gone above and beyond with the set details here. It's
yeah, I mean,
gorgeous.
There's so much on screen, especially with that second half, or we should say final 5-10 minutes of episode 4. There's so many little details, like a friend pointed out, that it takes place in like a hospital sort of setting, and there's homages to things we've seen before, like with the mummy we saw. He loses his hand and he uses his bones as an impromptu weapon. And a friend pointed out to me there's like these stone pillars in the background of the hospital. It's like they've broken away to reveal like this pole going up the center of him, like the bone. But I mean, that's one of the more obscure ones, and I don't know if that's even a thing. But there's a lot of references and
there is
Easter eggs tied into that. There's so much detail.
They've gone all out with this, and it's quite amazing. The designs of everything. I mean, the suit looks phenomenal, like ceremonial wrappings.
Yeah. And I've been looking at it thinking, how could I make that?
How could you make that? Well, a lot of ace bandages, my friend.
Yeah, there's so many.
Everyone does so well. There isn't a weak link so far in any of the characters' performances.
No, I mean, Oscar Isaac, he's essentially playing 3-4 different characters.
Yes.
And you've got the duality where they can play around now with special effects, where they can actually have him talking in the mirror with himself. And we've gone beyond the whole Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, cut between different shots within the same shot.
Precisely.
I mean, they were doing that in Black Swan, to be fair. But this is like really taking it to the extreme, where you've gone and got multiple Oscar Isaacs interacting with one another, and hopefully that's not much of a spoiler.
And different reflective surfaces. Reflective surfaces play a big thing here.
Yeah, there's so many. Like, there was a scene in the last episode in a tent, and he's like, I think it must have been like a mirrored surface on a table or something.
It was a glass tabletop.
Oh, right, yeah. It's funny, we're now looking at the glass in the room, like, oh, there's a reflection.
They definitely play that a lot with the representation of how many altars there are, and just how many Stevens and Marks we're dealing with.
Yeah. Fun little mystery.
Even going so far as to having a different suit for the 2 altars that we've seen so far, with Mark Knight having the traditional Moon Knight costume and Stephen Grant having the Mr. Knight.
Which is such a cool look.
It is a very cool look, and a lot more different to the comic version of Mr. Knight.
Yeah, now they can just add so many just textures and details into the costumes, and you can actually see like the weaves of the fabric and all that, and it's just the amount of thought put into it now is really good. Especially when now it's cool that you can make a movie, and if something's not to your liking, you can go back and change it on the fly. I mean, costume designs and character designs are changing all the time with these movies. Like, you might see a bit of merchandise which has an early design on it, and then you see the film and it's like completely different. But with this, it seems like they really just put all the thought into it and really stress the importance. They filmed in real locations, like around in Jordan, in Africa.
Yes. Cairo.
Yeah. And without any of those filters on it.
No.
None of that Breaking Bad style, Mexico filters with the yellow and the green turned up to max.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Moon Knight we're talking about. It's on Disney+.
It is fantastic. Sadly, 2 episodes left.
And Oscar Isaac is only going to be in these. Like, he's not scheduled.
He hasn't signed the contract for multiple seasons yet. I think he's actually done the smart thing here.
Yeah, I mean, if it went badly, he could go, I'm out. I had my fun. Or he might have gone extremely well, which it seems to be going, and just go, I'm done.
Exactly.
I did what I needed to do and wanted to do, and I'll leave it in someone else's hands.
There has been buzz around town that they are talking about a build-up to either the Dark Avengers, but more like a Justice League Dark version where they're dealing with the supernatural.
All right. Yeah.
Or the Midnight Suns, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's an exclusively London-based group.
Yeah, well,
Because we've already seen we've already seen 2 members, and we've already heard the 3rd.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Midnight Suns had Moon Knight, Black Knight, and Blade.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, this will be interesting to see, and if it does have greater ties, but I'm happy as it is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I think Isaac's contract is probably the reason why they're not so tying together.
Yeah, and if he does go ahead with it, goes with more, might be more to it, but yes. From Moon Knight to The Dark Knight.
Yes.
2008 film directed by Christopher Nolan. No, The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson and a bunch of other people.
Yes.
It's a new Batman movie that came out in cinemas. It's now available to watch on Amazon Prime.
Or HBO Max.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It is. I watched it on Amazon. Wink, wink. No.
Wink.
So, yeah, it's just a new Batman movie.
It is.
Taking on the Riddler, played by Paul Dano. I haven't actually looked into how to pronounce his name.
No.
Should have done that beforehand.
Yeah.
But he plays the Riddler, and he's killing government officials, and Batman is on the case to figure out why and what's going on.
A genuine mystery in a Batman film? What is this, the cartoons?
Yeah, I remember the scene in The Dark Knight where he's like, I don't know what he did with that bullet.
Oh, he was looking for fingerprints.
How? Yeah.
Reconstructing and all that.
Yeah, this is like a proper, you actually feel like there is some degree of mystery solving, and you can actually see like a thought process behind it. Although you do have a few leaps in logic, like, the solving of the cipher is sort of done off screen or done with a hand wave.
Sorry, no, not cartoon. Comic logic.
Yeah. Although you do actually have a film that does pay attention to that. It does iterate Batman is one of the greatest detectives in the world.
Or he's just starting out to be.
At least within his universe, he is.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I loved it. I have been a massive Batman fan for a very long time. Granted, it's been slipping through the years because it's just been getting so convoluted. Let's reboot, let's reboot. How many times are we going to clone the Waynes and kill them in the alleyway? Come on, people. But here, this felt refreshing because we did away with the parents are dead.
Yeah,
but
it's probably one of the first Batman films in a long time that hasn't delved into at least showing the Wayne deaths, because I mean we bloody saw it in Joker.
Exactly. But here it focuses a bit more on the life of Thomas Wayne, and apparently in this interpretation, his run for mayorship and all the sticky things that came about that, and just
It does feel like it's taken that long-used plot element and given greater depth to it, which is good. Yeah, I quite liked it. I didn't love it, but I did like it. It's a very long movie.
It is very long.
Just under 3 hours. And if you watch it in the cinemas, bums on seats for 3 hours, yeah. So, we've also got Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Very, very good Penguin.
A complete transformation.
Even getting a spin-off series coming out soon.
Yeah, the end of this film feels like it's really teasing that, doesn't it? It feels like it's going to be their own Peacemaker in a way.
Almost.
Yeah. It is interesting, this film, because Christopher Nolan obviously went and did his Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale as Batman.
He tried to ground a comic character in reality, and here they're trying to ground reality to the comic character, but still keep it somewhat real?
Yeah, it is like a weird blend where there's very comic book elements, and it's almost shamelessly Batman in a few things, where it's like, what does Batman do in the comics? What does he do in the games? He's now going to do it on screen for you to see.
He's going to give people traumatic brain injury.
Yes. Yeah, there's a few differences between the trailers and the actual film. Like, I remember there's the trailer where he beats down a thug and repeatedly punches him. And that felt a bit excessive, to me in the trailer, but it sort of felt a bit different in the film. I don't know if they
Because we
reshot
have
it.
more context for that.
Yeah. I mean, the people he's punching are usually very violent criminals, and
Well, with the trailer, we were given the impression that he's just wailing on some dude for who knows why.
yeah, it is set in the present day, or is set in a version of a present day which allows them to have modern mobile phones, but not getting too bogged down in it.
Yeah, not like full-on smartphones yet.
Yeah, so it's got shades of Zodiac.
Absolutely. Riddler has been heavily inspired by the Zodiac in his appearance and the Unabomber in how his methodology is.
Yeah, and a bit of Saw as well. Not as much as I guess people have long called for, but you do get a few hints here and there.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit like Prisoners, which Paul Dano was also in with Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
There's the image going around on that where Hugh Jackman's character locked up Paul Dano's character, and he whispers through the pipe in the cell, "Come on, no more effing riddles, tell me." Which is nice little reference. I wonder if that was intentional.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is interesting because it does feel like it does some things better than The Dark Knight.
It does. For one, it gives us probably my favorite live-action Riddler interpretation. I haven't seen much of Gotham, so I'm going to reserve my full judgment for that. But
yeah, back when I was still watching Gotham, he was still a police detective.
Yeah. And sadly, Carrie is more just camp because
Yes.
you gotta do it for the kids.
Yeah, he's like, take Frank Gorshin and make it more so.
Yeah, but here, this is a Riddler to be feared and maybe go for the misunderstood angle.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
It is.
And his motives and reasons for doing things are quite different to what we'd expect. Like I said, it does sort of have one foot in the real world and one foot in the comic book world.
It walks the line quite finely without having to be forced to pick a lane.
Batman's suit, I'm still not 100% sold on it. It does feel better in motion than, always looking at, promo pics. I remember people were like, oh, thumbs down with Heath Ledger back when promo pics were released for him. But this one, it feels like it's got practical uses, like the bat symbol is actually like a knife, it seems, for utility purposes. He's got like a little cap on his leg he can pop off to inject himself like EpiPen style if he needs to, which was the feature I really liked. Like,
that's actually a really good thing. Though I'm actually wondering what the compound is.
Yeah. It's funny because a few years ago we had the Joker movie.
Yes.
And that to me felt like it was a psychological thriller or horror film or character study.
It was a character study. It was a psychological character study. Here, it feels like an actual story being told, not a recreation of the wheel.
Well, yeah, with Joker, it felt like if it had just been a generic, movie, people would have gone, this would have been a fantastic Joker movie. But because it was Joker, it wasn't. It's kind of like if you took the king of comedy and replaced Robert Pupkin with the Joker, it wouldn't have been a very good...
Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been... It's good as its own thing. But this feels like they have taken elements of, like, Seven and Zodiac and all that, and crafted a good Batman thing out of it. Whether it's to your tastes or not is really down to you.
I felt, for the most part, they were really playing up the urban myth of the Bat.
And the decay of the city is just like... It feels... It's a character itself, yeah. Not much as Tim Burton's one, not as exaggerated.
No.
But you do get a sense of like where everything is in relation to everything. Like you'd see the Gotham Square Gardens quite a lot. It becomes quite an iconic location, and some big set pieces take place around there. Yeah, it's interesting.
It is. It's probably not going to be the saving grace that DC thought it was going to be.
They're talking about reshuffling things, especially after
what's happened with Ezra Miller.
Yes, not to go on about that one. But it feels like they're just ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater because, I mean, Peacemaker was massively successful. Suicide Squad, which was set within the Snyderverse, where they've been trying to push for so long,
Yes.
did so well, and this is something completely new, and it feels like they're now going to go, we're just going to do whatever.
Yeah.
So it kind of has me a bit concerned for what else is going to happen. Could they just go, nah, Batman did better than Peacemaker?
Honestly, I think they'd be better off playing it as our movies are not, if we cannot, we're not going to have a cohesive storyline, we're not going to create a cinematic universe like Marvel is. We're instead going to show you tales of the multiverse, which is one of DC's biggest selling points in the comics.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting a return of Michael Keaton as Batman next year in both Flash and Batgirl.
Yes.
So they talked about how they were going to have Batman cameo in the Peacemaker series, and it was just going to be a stand-in, but they removed him for fear of like confusion or something.
Yes.
And
instead they opted for Peacemaker's neighbor to be Batmite.
Yes. Well, it's, talking about confusing, you're going to have a new Batman movie coming out next year. I mean, there was sort of the joke where it seemed like there was another Batman cartoon or movie coming out every week. But yeah, so who knows what they're going to do with it. Hopefully they don't go, oh, this did really well, so we're going to get rid of Flash, we're going to get rid of Batgirl, we're going to just cut these loose and dump them on HBO Max without any connection to anything in a few years' time.
Well,
hope they don't do that.
If there are some WB execs listening, just do Tales from the Multiverse, guys. Don't try and be Marvel. Stop trying to do that.
Yeah, the whole Flash thing as well feels like they're trying to do a whole multiverse of madness by bringing in different Batman but Batman itself, yeah, which we're here to talk about. I had much to say. It does feel like it's looked at the last few films and gone, what can we do better?
Yes.
Like, I mean, there's a nightclub fight scene which was in The Dark Knight, but this here you actually see it in motion. You can actually see what's going on and see the fighting, and it's really good. It sort of looked at the Nolan Batman and said, okay, well, that was Batman starting out, but what if this was a Batman who was a lot more practical and didn't have all those resources? But like I said, it did feel over-designed. Catwoman, I felt her look worked better here.
Yes.
But the mask as well sort of annoyed me, where it's like, I can't tell if it's clever or lazy, what they've done with the mask.
It's a year 2 type of dealie. Not the year 1 that we got with The Dark Knight. Well, sorry, not The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, but still. Way too resourced, that one.
Yes. He's very lucky that Bruce
just
had the tank. What did you think of the Batmobile? Thumbs up, yeah.
Finally, we got a car, not like a giant tank.
I did like the tank.
Or whatever the hell Ben Affleck was driving.
Yeah, that was like an RC car, wasn't it?
It almost did, but it reminded me a bit of
Arkham Knight did one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a combination tank, RC car, all in one, whatever you need kind of thing.
It looked a lot better than what we got.
Yeah. I remember there was a big chase scene in Batman vs Superman where Batman just kills a bunch of people in his car. In this one, it's like they kind of want that same destructive thing, but they very wisely go, oh no, it's the villain who's going to be causing the pile-up, isn't it?
Yes.
Batman's just going to be the one trying to stop him and doing whatever he can to stop him. And that felt really good, an acknowledgement of, like, Batman doesn't kill.
He just leaves them with life-crippling injuries.
Yeah, well, after that first beatdown where there's the civilian who saves, who's quite scared of him, I had horrible flashbacks to the Ben Affleck Daredevil. But thankfully you don't have Batman standing on top of a church going, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He's not going to have a crisis of faith later down the line.
He does at the end a bit. A friend was a bit concerned because she was like saying, is this a Batman who you could see consoling a small child, who's been terrified or something?
No.
And no, you get a homage to that. You get a nod to it where he's not quite there yet. He sort of feels like, I know what you're going through, kid, but I can't quite do that yet.
Yeah.
But he is a Batman who'll throw himself in front of a moving car to save a kid.
Absolutely.
So there's that, which is good.
It definitely looks more of... We didn't get much of a Bruce Wayne, which I think is actually going to be really good because if we do get the sequel, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I am hoping to see that Robert Pattinson plays the character as he's developing the Bruce Wayne persona.
Yeah. It is good that this thing does some things where it's like, well, we don't need to see him become Batman. Again, we don't need to see the Waynes get killed.
No.
Again, he's fully formed in some regards, but he's still building on some things. He's not like the Bruce Wayne that we saw in Batman Begins.
Or the Nolan films where it's just like, I know easily how to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it was like an hour into that film before you even got him in the Batsuit. And this film is him in the Batsuit nearly all the time. It's a bit strange to see him out of it.
I will say, waste of Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Well, yeah, hopefully we'll see more of him in future.
Absolutely, I want to see more of him.
And I did hear that it was like some concerning, you're not my real dad kind of thing, and there's some bitter resentment between the two of them, but they do get along. It's just not 100% fully on board. It's very much, it's your sort of traditional Alfred dynamic of like, are you sure about this, Master Wayne?
Yeah, no, how about I'm going to do this and you be quiet? Very good.
Yes. But yes, The Batman.
The Batman.
Might be in cinemas still. I think it's on HBO Max or Showcase or whatever.
It'll be on somewhere streaming.
Yeah, check it out. If it sounds interesting, if you're a Batman fan. It is very long.
It is.
You might have to pause. In fact, actually pausing a few times for this, it did kind of feel like... Yeah, it did feel like it was almost episodes of a long TV show compiled into one.
Don't make the mistake I did. But I still sat down and I sat through the entire movie.
Yeah.
No toilet breaks.
Oh, dear.
Nothing. Just like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's interesting. It embraces the comic book. Some of it's very fun if you like seeing Batman just do stuff.
Exactly.
There's a scene where he jumps out of the fog and tackles some guy, and it reminds me of that clip of that raccoon that jumps out from behind a car and attacks a bloke. It's just like throws himself out. I like it when Batman does stuff like that, or when he's like, hiding on the ceiling. It makes me laugh a bit. But anyway, that's The Batman. We talked about Moon Knight earlier on. Very rambly conversation.
Yes, well, it is a very rambly show.
Yes, when isn't it? Anyway, I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.